Welcome. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Imagine a world where a simple cough could be a cosmic imbalance, and a fever, a divine punishment. A world where doctors wore robes, believed in four essential fluids, and treated illness with leeches and prayers. Tonight, you won't just hear about it. You will step into that world, for one day, as a medieval doctor, and you will discover, with a quiet, certain dread, that you would not last. Not a single, full day? No antibiotics. No hand sanitizer. No x-rays. No thermometers. No anesthetics. No idea what a germ is. Only the pervasive scent of decay, the constant threat of plague, and perhaps a squirming leech for company. Let the quiet rhythm of my voice carry you back to a time when medicine was a blend of ancient texts, crude tools, and desperate hope. This is why you wouldn't last a day as a medieval doctor. Let's begin very slowly. Becoming a medieval doctor was suspiciously easy in some ways and incredibly arduous in others. It all depended on your birth, your wealth, and your luck. There were no standardized medical exams as we know them today, no neat, folded white coats, no vast, gleaming hospitals with automatic sliding doors and vending machines dispensing sugary drinks. Instead, the path to healing was winding, often unscientific, and deeply stratified by social class, reflecting the rigid hierarchy of the medieval world itself. Let us imagine the various pathways one might take into the healing arts during this fascinating, yet often brutal, period of history, a time when knowledge was precious and often guarded. If you were fortunate enough to be born into a wealthy family, perhaps one with noble connections or successful merchant ventures, your path might lead to a university. These were not the sprawling campuses of today, but rather collections of scholars and students clustered around cathedrals or royal courts, often housed in modest buildings, their lecture halls dimly lit by natural light or the flicker of candles. The most renowned medical schools of the Middle Ages were places like Salerno in southern Italy, a vibrant intellectual hub and a melting pot of Greek, Latin, Arab, and Jewish medical traditions, where ancient wisdom flowed freely. Other prominent centers included Bologna and Padua in northern Italy, known for their rigorous academic traditions, and later Paris and Montpellier in France, which developed their own distinct approaches to medicine. Here, your education would be less about hands-on practice and more about theoretical knowledge, primarily derived from ancient texts. You would spend years, often 7 or more, diligently studying books. Not modern textbooks filled with diagrams and photographs, but painstakingly copied manuscripts, often faded and brittle, their pages filled with dense Latin script, written by long-dead masters whose authority was unquestionable. Your curriculum would be steeped in the works of Hippocrates, the revered father of medicine, whose humoral theory would form the bedrock of all your understanding, an unshakable truth. You would pore over the writings of Galen, the Roman physician whose anatomical and physiological theories, though often based on animal dissection and sometimes flawed, were considered infallible for over a millennium, his words gospel. You would also study the wisdom of Avicenna, the brilliant Persian polymath whose monumental Canon of Medicine synthesized Greek and Arab medical knowledge, becoming a standard textbook across Europe, its comprehensive nature a marvel of its time. The days in the university were long, filled with the drone of lectures delivered in sonorous Latin, the scratch of quills on parchment as you copied endless passages, and the hushed debates among scholars, their voices low and earnest as they argued the finer points of ancient theories. You would learn to identify the subtle nuances of Latin medical terminology, to recite passages from memory, and to argue the finer points of a Galenic theory with unwavering conviction, for intellectual prowess was highly valued. Practical experience was minimal, almost non-existent in the early years, often limited to observing a master physician on his rounds or, on rare and illicit occasions, witnessing a human dissection, performed swiftly and often discreetly. The professor lecturing from a high chair, while a less esteemed assistant did the actual cutting, his hands stained with blood. Your knowledge of anatomy would thus be largely theoretical, based on these ancient texts, rather than direct observation, leaving much to the imagination and the wisdom of the ancients. Your days would be filled with lectures, debates, and the memorization of complex Latin phrases. You would learn to diagnose by observing the patient's pulse, inspecting their urine, uroscopy, and consulting astrological charts, for the heavens held many secrets to the body's health. This was the high medicine, practiced by learned men who often wore long, dignified robes of fine fabric, their scholarly appearance commanding respect, and spoke in Latin, a language that set them apart from the common folk. They rarely touched their patients directly, considering such manual labor beneath their learned station, preferring to offer diagnoses and prescribe remedies, leaving the more manual tasks to others. If your family lacked wealth or status, if a university education was an impossible dream, but you possessed a strong constitution and a practical bent, a tolerance for blood and pain, you might find yourself apprenticed to a barber surgeon. This was a far cry from the academic halls of Salerno, a world of raw, visceral reality. There was no formal school required, no ancient texts to memorize, just a strong stomach, a steady hand, and the ability to not pass out when slicing open a boil the size of a pigeon egg, its contents oozing, or, more commonly, pulling a rotten tooth, its roots clinging stubbornly. The barber surgeon's shop was a bustling, often bloody, place, a hub of activity and grim necessity. The iconic red and white striped pole outside symbolized their dual role. Red for bloodletting, white for bandages, a clear, if unsettling, sign of their trade. They were the general practitioners of manual medicine, the ones who dealt with the immediate, tangible ailments of the body. They would cut hair, shave beards, perform bloodletting, a cornerstone of medieval treatment, believed to purge the body of ill humors, pull teeth, lance boils and abscesses, set broken bones, and even perform minor surgeries, such as amputations, when a limb was beyond saving. Their knowledge was gained through direct experience, observation, and trial and error, often with grim results and a high mortality rate. An apprenticeship would begin early, perhaps as a young boy, sweeping the shop floor, sharpening tools until their edges gleamed, and observing the master at work, learning through osmosis and direct instruction. You would learn by doing, by assisting in gruesome procedures, by holding down struggling patients whose cries filled the air, and by cleaning up the aftermath, the blood and pus a constant reminder of your work. The smells of blood, unwashed bodies, crude antiseptics, and perhaps the faint scent of singed hair would become your constant companions, a pungent tapestry of your daily life. You would learn to distinguish a healthy wound from a festering one, to recognize the signs of gangrene by its blackening flesh and foul odor, and to act swiftly, even brutally, when necessary, for hesitation could mean death. They were considered a lower class of healer than the university-trained physicians, often looked down upon by the learned elite, who considered manual labor beneath them, but they were indispensable to the common people, providing the most immediate and accessible form of physical intervention, a necessary evil in a world of pain. Beyond the physician and the barber surgeon, the medieval world was teeming with other types of healers, each playing a vital role in their communities, their practices often intertwined with local customs, folklore, and spiritual beliefs. These included wise women and midwives, often the first and only recourse for peasants, especially in rural areas where learned physicians were scarce or unaffordable. These women possessed generations of accumulated knowledge about local herbs, remedies, and childbirth, their wisdom passed down from mother to daughter, from elder to apprentice. They were the primary caregivers for women during pregnancy and delivery, attending to the intimate and often dangerous process of birth, and often provided general care for families, offering advice on everything from fevers to broken bones. Their wisdom was practical and deeply rooted in folklore, but their independence and knowledge sometimes made them targets of suspicion, occasionally leading to accusations of witchcraft, particularly if their remedies failed or if they challenged established male authority, a dangerous tightrope to walk. Monks and nuns also played a significant role, as monasteries often served as centers of learning and healing. Monastic infirmaries provided care for the sick within their orders and sometimes for the surrounding community, offering a sanctuary for the ailing. Monks and nuns meticulously copied ancient medical texts, preserving knowledge through the ages, cultivated medicinal herb gardens within their cloistered walls, their hands tending to rows of healing plants, and combined spiritual healing, prayer, relics, blessings, with practical remedies, believing in the power of faith alongside earthly cures. Their care was often more compassionate and hygienic than what might be found elsewhere, offering a quiet, ordered environment for recovery. Apothecaries were the pharmacists of the Middle Ages. They prepared and sold a vast array of herbs, spices, compounded medicines, and even poisons, their shops filled with exotic aromas and strange concoctions. Their shops were aromatic places, filled with dried plants, powders, and strange concoctions, often with exotic ingredients brought from distant lands, their shelves lined with jars and bottles. Physicians would write prescriptions, often cryptic and complex, and apothecaries would mix them, often with their own secret ingredients and proprietary blends, guarding their recipes closely. Finally, the roads were also home to itinerant healers, some genuinely knowledgeable about plants, others mere charlatans selling dubious elixirs and promising miraculous cures, preying on desperation and offering false hope. They traveled from village to village, their wagons laden with strange bottles and charms, catering to those who couldn't afford a physician or distrusted the barber surgeon, offering a quick fix, however fleeting. But if you're our protagonist in this sleepy tale, you're a physician. The fanciest kind. You wear long, flowing robes, perhaps made of fine wool or even silk, signifying your learning and status, setting you apart from the common rabble. You quote Aristotle and Galen with confidence, even if you don't fully grasp the nuances of their original intent, for the act of quoting itself confers authority. You've maybe even looked at a cadaver. Once, behind a curtain, during a rare public dissection, the memory of the cold flesh and the pungent odor still lingering in your mind, a secret knowledge that sets you apart, a glimpse into the forbidden. You are a man of books, of theories, of the grand, overarching principles that govern the human body and its ailments, as understood by the ancients, a scholar first, a healer second. Let's start your day, doctor. The sun is just beginning to peek over the horizon, casting long, sleepy shadows across your modest stone house. The air is cool and still. A new day of medieval medicine awaits, full of challenges and the ever-present shadow of the unknown. It's 6 a.m. The first faint light of dawn filters through the narrow, unglazed window of your modest stone house, painting the rough stone walls with a pale, ethereal glow. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke from your hearth, where embers still glow faintly, and the damp earth outside, a promise of the day's chill. You stir on your straw mattress, covered by a rough wool blanket that offers little warmth against the morning air. The silence of the pre-dawn hours is broken only by the distant crow of a rooster, a lonely sound, and the gentle rustle of mice in the wainscoting, their tiny lives unfolding in the shadows. You rise slowly, stretching your stiff limbs, feeling the aches of a night spent on a hard bed. There's no hot water for washing, no comforting steam, so a quick splash of cold water from a basin on your face is all you manage, a bracing shock that awakens your senses. Your breakfast is simple, austere, a hunk of stale bread, perhaps a piece of hard cheese if you're lucky, its saltiness a sharp contrast to the bland bread, and a generous tankard of weak ale. Water, after all, is often suspect, teeming with unseen impurities, and ale is safer, a staple for hydration throughout the day, even for children, its low alcohol content offering a mild, comforting warmth. As you chew your bread, its rough texture filling your mouth, you review your medical charts, which are, in essence, a few parchment scrolls or wax tablets detailing your patient's complaints and your previous diagnoses, your notes scribbled in a precise, almost calligraphic hand. One of your most prominent patients, Sir Geoffrey, a wealthy nobleman from the nearby manor, complains again of a bloated belly and foul winds. He sent a messenger last night, a breathless stable boy, detailing his discomfort, his restless sleep, and a general feeling of unease that has plagued him for days. Your brow furrows thoughtfully, a familiar gesture of concentration. Your diagnosis? Obviously, too much phlegm, or perhaps black bile, could be yellow bile, or blood. The possibilities, though limited, are always clear within the framework of your understanding. You see, according to the four humors theory, which is the absolute bedrock of all medical understanding in your world, the only thing you've got, passed down from Hippocrates and refined by Galen. Everybody is made of four essential fluids. These humors are not just bodily fluids. They are fundamental principles linked to the four elements: earth, air, fire, water. The four seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, and even the four temperaments of human personality. Understanding them is understanding life itself, understanding the very fabric of existence, and their balance is the key to health, to a harmonious body and mind. These vital fluids include blood, known as the sanguine humor, which is warm and wet, associated with air, the heart, and spring. A person with an excess of blood is typically cheerful, optimistic, courageous, and social, full of vitality and energy, but prone to fevers, nosebleeds, and excessive sweating if their blood becomes too abundant or hot, causing an internal conflagration. Symptoms of imbalance include a red face, a strong, bounding pulse, a persistent fever, excessive energy that borders on restlessness, and sometimes anger or rashness, a fiery temper. Treatment often involves bloodletting to reduce the excess, a controlled draining of the body's vital fluid, or a diet of cooling foods to temper the internal heat. Then there is phlegm, the phlegmatic humor, which is cold and wet, associated with water, the brain or lungs, and winter. An excess of phlegm makes one calm, rational, patient, and somewhat sluggish or apathetic, prone to quiet contemplation. They are often pale and prone to respiratory issues, persistent colds, and a general lethargy, a feeling of being weighed down. Symptoms of imbalance include chronic coughs, persistent colds, nasal congestion, profound lethargy, a noticeable paleness of the skin, and swollen joints, as if fluid accumulates within them. Treatment involves warming and drying foods, vigorous exercise to stir the humors, emetics to induce vomiting, or purgatives to induce bowel movements. To expel the excess phlegm from the body. Yellow bile, the choleric humor, is warm and dry, associated with fire, the liver, and summer. An excess of yellow bile leads to a fiery, energetic, ambitious, and sometimes irritable or aggressive personality, quick to anger and action. They are prone to fevers, jaundice, a yellowing of the skin and eyes, and digestive issues, their internal fire causing turmoil. Symptoms of imbalance include yellowish skin, a persistent bitterness in the mouth, sudden outbursts of anger, restlessness, a burning fever, and often vomiting of bile, a clear sign of internal excess. Treatment involves cooling and moistening foods, sometimes bloodletting to reduce the heat, or laxatives to clear the bile from the system. Finally, black bile, the melancholic humor, is cold and dry, associated with earth, the spleen, and autumn. An excess of black bile results in a thoughtful, introverted, artistic, but also melancholic, anxious, or depressed personality, prone to dark moods and introspection. They are prone to melancholy, chronic constipation, and skin conditions, as if their inner dryness manifests outwardly. Symptoms of imbalance include a dark, sallow complexion, persistent sadness, irrational fear, debilitating anxiety, chronic constipation, and various skin lesions. Treatment involves warming and moistening foods, gentle exercise to stimulate circulation, sometimes purgatives to cleanse the system, and remedies to uplift the spirits, such as cheerful company or pleasant music. If any one of these gets out of balance, too much, too little, or of the wrong quality, boom, sickness. The body, in its wisdom, tries to restore this balance, to find its equilibrium, but sometimes it needs a little intervention, a gentle nudge, or a forceful push. The cure? Restore the balance. This could mean anything from bleeding the patient to reduce excess blood, feeding them boiled nettles to dry out phlegm, or recommending a change in diet to cool down yellow bile. Each action precisely calculated to bring the humors back into harmony. And then there's the cosmic influence. Yes, astrology. You see, the stars and planets do not merely twinkle in the night sky. They actively exert influence over the humors within your body, a constant, unseen force. The celestial bodies are not just distant lights. They are active participants in your health and well-being, their movements dictating your very constitution. Mercury might dry out your liver, making you prone to choleric imbalances, its swift movement causing internal agitation. Jupiter makes you overly hot-blooded, leading to sanguine excesses, its expansive nature inflating your humors. Saturn, always melancholic, bringing forth an excess of black bile, leading to sadness and introspection, its slow, heavy presence casting a long shadow. The moon is known to influence phlegm, causing conditions like lunacy or dropsy due to its association with water and tides, its ebb and flow mirroring the fluids within the body. Even the zodiac signs play a role. Each sign governs specific parts of the body. Aries rules the head, Taurus the neck, Gemini the arms, and so on. A disease in a particular body part might be linked to the astrological sign currently influencing it, or the sign under which the patient was born, a cosmic predisposition. The intricate dance of the heavens, the precise alignment of constellations, the waxing and waning of the moon, all are meticulously charted and considered, for they hold profound implications for the delicate balance within the human microcosm, a miniature reflection of the universe. A physician who ignores the stars is no physician at all, for he neglects the fundamental forces that govern life itself. As you ponder Sir Geoffrey's bloated belly and foul winds, symptoms that speak volumes to your trained eye, you reach for your worn astrological chart, its parchment yellowed with age and frequent use. You carefully locate the current positions of the planets, consult the ephemeris for their precise movements, and then cross-reference them with Sir Geoffrey's birth chart, which you meticulously drew years ago, a complex web of lines and symbols. Mars is in retrograde, a troubling sign, indicating a potential for internal conflict and inflammation. The moon is waning, which might exacerbate issues related to phlegm, drawing forth excess moisture. Saturn is ascendant in his house of digestion, a particularly inauspicious placement for his current complaint, suggesting a blockage or stagnation. The conjunction of certain planets, the houses they occupy, the aspects they form. Each detail is a piece of the grand cosmic puzzle that reveals the true nature of his ailment, a celestial blueprint of his suffering. Diagnosis: excess bile, likely yellow bile, exacerbated by the planetary alignments. The foul winds are a clear sign of internal putrefaction, a result of the humors fermenting incorrectly, a direct consequence of the celestial influences on his earthly body, a corruption of his inner balance. Treatment: leeches to draw out the excess, a barley porridge to cool and moisten the system, and perhaps a specific herb, carefully chosen according to its planetary association, to counteract the influence of Saturn, restoring harmony to his internal landscape. Science, or what passes for it, in a world where the heavens are as much a part of medicine as the body itself. The quiet certainty in your heart tells you this is the path to healing, the only true path. The sun is now fully up, casting a golden light through your window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. It's time to begin your rounds. The morning air, though cool, already carries the faint scent of the town. Wood smoke from countless hearths, damp earth from the night's dew, and the distant, ever-present aroma of livestock, a pungent reminder of rural life. You don your finest physician's robe, a long, dark wool garment that signifies your learned status, its fabric soft against your skin. You carefully pack your small, leather medical bag, its worn exterior betraying years of service, ensuring your essential tools are present. A small, sharp silver lancet for bleeding, its blade gleaming, a few vials of herbal concoctions, their contents sloshing faintly, and, of course, your precious glass flask for urine inspection, its clarity vital for diagnosis. Your first patient, Sir Geoffrey, the nobleman, is a regular client, his ailments as predictable as the seasons, though he always presents them with fresh drama. His manor house, a sturdy stone edifice surrounded by a moat, its waters still and dark, stands a short ride from your modest dwelling, a clear demarcation of wealth and status. As you approach, the sounds of the manor awaken, the clatter of servants preparing breakfast, the distant barking of dogs in the kennels, the faint bleating of sheep from the pastures. A stable boy, his face smudged with dirt, takes your horse, leading it to the stables, and you are ushered inside, through a dimly lit hall, its stone walls cold and imposing, to Sir Geoffrey's bedchamber. The hall itself is grand, yet draughty, with heavy tapestries depicting hunting scenes and mythical beasts adorning the stone walls, muting the sounds, and the faint smell of roasted meats and stale wine lingering in the air, a testament to last night's feast. You pass numerous servants, their faces deferential, their movements hushed, aware of the gravity of your visit, for the Lord's health affects all. Sir Geoffrey, a man of considerable girth and even more considerable anxieties, lies propped up on silken pillows, his face pale, his brow furrowed with discomfort, a picture of aristocratic suffering. He groans dramatically as you enter, a theatrical display of his suffering, as if his pain demands an audience. "Ah, doctor. My belly, it churns like a tempest. My winds, they are truly foul. And my sleep, what little I had, was plagued by visions of slithering eels, doctor. Eels, I tell you, writhing in dark waters." His voice is a low rumble, punctuated by sharp intakes of breath, a man truly distressed. You nod gravely, stroking your neatly trimmed beard, a gesture designed to convey profound wisdom and deep thought, a practiced calm. You take a seat on a stool beside his bed, maintaining a professional distance, observing his complexion, the slight tremor in his hands as he gestures, the anxious darting of his eyes, searching for reassurance. You begin your meticulous, if somewhat peculiar, diagnostic process, a ritual of questions and observations, each designed to uncover the humoral imbalance. "Tell me, Sir Geoffrey," you begin, your voice calm and measured, designed to soothe and elicit truth. "What did you partake of yesterday? Any unusual meats? Rich sauces, perhaps made with too much spice? Did you, by chance, consume a surfeit of spiced wine, perhaps of a new vintage that disagreed with your constitution, or was consumed too freely?" He sighs dramatically, a gust of air that carries the faint scent of his recent meal, a hint of garlic and roasted meat. "Alas, doctor, only the usual fare. A roasted boar, perhaps a trifle too much, yes, and a hearty stew, rich with vegetables and herbs. And yes, a goblet or two of the new vintage, but nothing untoward. I assure you, my diet has been, as ever, of the finest quality and most moderate quantity, for a man of my stature and discernment." He puffs out his chest slightly, despite his discomfort, a nobleman's pride asserting itself even in illness. You make a mental note. Rich food, potential excess, despite his protestations of moderation. This aligns perfectly with your initial thoughts of a humoral imbalance, a surfeit of heat and moisture from overindulgence, a common affliction of the wealthy. "And tell me, Sir Geoffrey," you continue, leaning in slightly, your voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, as if sharing a profound secret, "have you recently looked at the moon? Specifically, the waning crescent, or perhaps the moon in a particular house of the zodiac? Or perhaps, have your dreams been filled with fish, or other creatures of the watery realm, such as serpents or amphibians, or perhaps even the cold, slimy creatures of the deep?" Sir Geoffrey's eyes widen, a flicker of recognition and awe in their depths, as if you have peered into his very soul. "Indeed, doctor. Just last night, I gazed upon the moon for a considerable time, marveling at its pale light as it hung low in the sky, and felt a strange chill, a creeping unease. And as for dreams, yes, eels, as I mentioned, writhing and coiling, and a monstrous carp, with eyes like glowing embers, pursuing me through a murky pond, its scales shimmering. It was most unsettling, doctor, a nightmare that clung to me even after waking." He says yes, yes, and absolutely. You stroke your beard again, thoughtfully, allowing the silence to hang in the air, emphasizing the gravity of your deductions, allowing the weight of your knowledge to settle. This is not mere coincidence. These are vital clues, threads in the grand tapestry of his ailment, woven from celestial influence and earthly indulgence. The moon, as you know, influences the phlegmatic humor, which is cold and wet, and its waning phase can draw forth excess moisture, causing internal dampness. Eels and fish are creatures of water, further reinforcing the connection to phlegm and its potential for stagnation, for the accumulation of cold, heavy fluids. His bloated belly and foul winds could be a sign of excess phlegm fermenting in the gut, a putrefaction of internal fluids, or perhaps an imbalance of yellow bile causing internal heat and corruption, all exacerbated by the moon's influence on his internal fluids, a cosmic disharmony. Indeed, you murmur, a hint of profound understanding in your voice, a quiet triumph in connecting the earthly symptoms to the celestial causes. The celestial bodies speak to us, Sir Geoffrey, if only we listen. Their influence is undeniable, shaping the very humors within us, from our temperament to our digestion. Now, if you would be so kind, for the final, crucial step in our diagnosis, one that will reveal the deepest secrets of your internal state. You then make your most crucial request, the one that often elicits a slight grimace from even the most stoic patient, a moment of mild discomfort for the sake of profound insight. I require a sample of your urine, Sir Geoffrey, for a thorough inspection, a uroscopy that will lay bare the nature of your humors. This is not a joke. This is a cornerstone of your diagnostic practice, a tradition stretching back to the earliest physicians, a method refined over centuries. Uroscopy, the examination of urine, is an art form, a complex science passed down through generations of physicians, a skill that requires a keen eye and a discerning nose. You must inspect the urine. A chamber pot is quickly brought by a discreet servant, its contents carefully collected, and another servant carefully pours the contents into your transparent glass flask, a prized possession, its clarity allowing for precise observation of every subtle nuance. You hold the flask to the light, turning it slowly, observing its color, its clarity, its sediment, each a silent witness to the body's internal state, a liquid mirror of health. Is it pale, indicating weakness or excess phlegm, a lack of vital heat? Is it deep yellow, suggesting too much yellow bile or a burning fever, an excess of fiery choler? Is it reddish, hinting at blood or internal inflammation, a sign of rupture or irritation? Sir Geoffrey's is yellowish with a touch of cloudiness, perhaps a sign of digestive disturbance or mild fever, consistent with your initial thoughts. Is it clear, murky, or filled with visible particles? Cloudiness can indicate internal heat or putrefaction, a sign of the humors fermenting, a corruption within. You look for any clouds, threads, or gravel at the bottom, each signifying different internal conditions, from kidney stones to a diseased bladder, from excess phlegm to hardened bile. You bring the flask closer, taking a careful sniff. Is it sweet, suggesting diabetes, a wasting disease, known as the pissing evil, a sign of internal decay? Is it pungent, indicating putrefaction or an excess of choler, a sharp, acrid smell? Sir Geoffrey's is mildly sour, consistent with digestive upset and the presence of excess bile, a sign of his internal turmoil. The presence and type of foam on the surface can also offer clues, indicating the quality of the humors, their lightness or heaviness. And yes, you might even taste it. Though you prefer not to, reserving this ultimate diagnostic step for the most perplexing cases, when all other signs are ambiguous, a true physician, in dire circumstances, might dab a finger in the sample and touch it to their tongue, a brief, unpleasant contact. A sweet taste could indicate a pissing evil, diabetes, while a salty or bitter taste would point to other humoral imbalances, a direct chemical confirmation. You are a doctor, after all, dedicated to your craft, no matter how unpalatable the task, for knowledge is paramount. Today, you decide against the taste test, relying on visual and olfactory cues, which are sufficiently clear for your diagnosis, leaving no room for doubt. Your conclusion, after this meticulous examination and thoughtful consideration of the celestial influences, is clear. Sir Geoffrey is suffering from an excess of yellow bile, perhaps exacerbated by a phlegmatic imbalance due to the moon's influence and his rich diet. The foul winds are a manifestation of this imbalance, a putrefaction of humors within his gut, a sign that his internal furnace burns too fiercely, creating noxious vapors that must be expelled. Sir Geoffrey, you pronounce, your voice resonating with authority, a tone of quiet confidence that instills trust and reassurance. Your humors are indeed agitated. There is an excess of choler, a fiery humor, exacerbated by the lunar influence and, dare I say, a certain robustness in your recent dining. Your dreams of watery creatures are but a reflection of this internal disharmony, a sign that the phlegmatic humor, though not dominant, is also unsettled, contributing to your discomfort. Your prescribed treatment is multifaceted, designed to restore balance to his agitated humors, a comprehensive approach to his well-being. We must draw off some of this excess heat and agitation, you declare, preparing your silver lancet with practiced, almost ritualistic movements. A small bleeding from the arm, from the cephalic vein, will cool the blood and reduce the choler, allowing the body to regain its equilibrium, a gentle purging of the excess. A clean basin is brought, its metal gleaming, and with practiced ease, you make a small, precise incision in a prominent vein in his arm, allowing a few ounces of dark, thick blood to flow slowly and steadily into the bowl, a silent testament to the body's internal turmoil. Sir Geoffrey winces, a slight gasp escaping his lips, but he endures the discomfort with stoicism, his faith in your methods unwavering, believing firmly in the efficacy of the procedure, a necessary purging for his well-being. For his internal humors, you prescribe a carefully considered dietary regimen designed to cool and cleanse. A regimen of sweet wine, taken sparingly, will soothe the stomach and temper the fiery choler, its sweetness a balm. Dried figs, known for their gentle purgative properties, will aid in cleansing the bowels and expelling any stagnant humors, a gentle internal purge. And for a period, I advise against rich meats and heavy sauces, which only inflame the humors. Simple broths, perhaps some boiled greens, and light grains will allow your system to rest and rebalance, promoting internal harmony. And of course, daily prayer, Sir Geoffrey, you add, emphasizing the spiritual component, for the soul's health is intertwined with the body's. To align your spirit with the divine, and to seek favor against any malign influences that may contribute to your disease. A calm mind often leads to a calm body, for the spirit can influence the humors. Finally, and this is crucial, you instruct him on the importance of celestial alignment, for the heavens govern all. No horseback riding until Mercury leaves Aquarius. The planetary alignment is currently unfavorable for such vigorous activity, which could further inflame your humors and exacerbate your condition, causing undue agitation. Rest and quiet contemplation are advised during this period, allowing the cosmic influences to settle. Sir Geoffrey, visibly relieved to have a clear diagnosis and a comprehensive course of action, thanks you profusely, his anxieties visibly lessened, replaced by a quiet sense of hope. He instructs a servant to bring you a gleaming silver coin, a substantial sum for your efforts, a testament to his wealth and his trust in your skills. In addition, a generous slice of freshly baked cheese, still warm from the kitchen, its aroma comforting, and a small flask of fine, aged wine are offered as a gesture of gratitude, a token of his appreciation. You accept them with a solemn nod, your duty fulfilled, your reputation enhanced. The day has begun, and the weight of your responsibilities already presses upon you, a familiar burden. No sooner have you returned to your modest home, the silver coin safely tucked away, its cool weight a comforting presence in your purse, a tangible reward for your learned efforts, and the cheese savored, its simple flavor a welcome contrast to the day's early anxieties, then a frantic knocking echoes at your door. It is a desperate, insistent rapping, louder and more urgent than the usual polite summons, a sound that speaks of immediate crisis. You open it to find a young, gaunt servant, clearly from a peasant household, standing breathless on your doorstep. His clothes are patched and worn, his face streaked with dirt and worry, his eyes wide with a raw, unvarnished fear, reflecting the desperation of his family. "Doctor, please, doctor. My mother, old Nan, she's taken ill. A terrible cough. Doctor, a cough that tears at her very soul, and a fever that burns like the devil's own fire. She's wheezing, doctor, like a broken bellows, each breath a struggle, each gasp a torment. We fear the worst, doctor. We fear she will not see the morrow." His voice is hoarse, trembling with desperation, barely a whisper. You sigh inwardly, a quiet exhalation of resignation. A peasant house call. This will mean little payment, a grueling journey, much effort, and likely a grim prognosis. The nobility can afford your time and your finest remedies, your lengthy consultations and expensive concoctions. But for the common folk, you are often a last resort, summoned when all other, simpler remedies, the village wise woman's herbs, the local priest's blessings, have failed. Yet, your duty, as a physician, extends to all, even if the rewards are meager and the outcomes often tragic. "Lead the way, lad," you say, your voice calm and steady, a deliberate effort to project confidence amidst the boy's panic, to offer a glimmer of hope. You gather your simple bag once more, exchanging your fine physician's robe for a more practical, less ostentatious cloak, one that will not gather too much mud on the journey, its dark wool blending with the shadows. The journey to the crumbling cottage is short but telling, a stark contrast to the well-maintained path to Sir Geoffrey's manor. You ride your sturdy pony along a muddy, rutted track, past fields recently tilled, their dark earth promising future sustenance, past lean-to shacks and meager gardens where scraggly vegetables struggle to grow, a testament to the harshness of peasant life. The air here is different from the town or the manor. It smells more acutely of damp earth, fresh manure, wood smoke from countless hearths, and the pungent, unmistakable aroma of animal waste, a constant presence. Chickens, scrawny and nervous, flee at your approach, scattering like dry leaves before the wind, their clucking a brief burst of sound in the otherwise quiet landscape. The cottage itself is a hovel, its thatch roof sagging in places, patched haphazardly with straw, its single, small window covered by a piece of oiled hide rather than glass, letting in only a dim, filtered light. Smoke curls weakly from a crude chimney, struggling against the morning breeze, a sign of meager warmth within, a desperate attempt to ward off the chill. You dismount, tie your pony to a rickety fence post that looks barely capable of holding its weight, and step inside. The interior is dim, lit only by the flickering, smoky fire in the hearth and the sliver of pale light from the doorway, casting long, dancing shadows. The air is thick with the smell of wood smoke, unwashed bodies, the cloying scent of illness, and the faint, sweet odor of stale straw, a suffocating combination. The floor is packed earth, uneven and cold underfoot. The furniture is sparse and rough-hewn. A crude table, a few wobbly stools, and a straw-filled pallet by the fire where old Nan lies, her frail body barely visible beneath a thin blanket. She is indeed wheezing, her breath ragged and shallow, each inhale a struggle, each exhale a rasping gasp that tears at your ears, a sound of profound distress. Her face is flushed with fever, her skin clammy to the touch, her eyes glazed and unfocused, fixed on some distant, unseen point, as if already gazing into the next world. Her body trembles with the effort of breathing, and a thin sheen of sweat covers her brow, a sign of her body's desperate fight. Her family, a cluster of anxious faces, her son, his wife, a few small grandchildren, hovers nearby, their hopes pinned entirely on your arrival, their faces etched with a mixture of fear, exhaustion, and desperate hope, a silent plea for a miracle. They are simple folk, their meager lives dependent on every able body, and old Nan, despite her age, is a vital part of their household, her absence a profound loss. You approach the pallet, your expression solemn, your movements deliberate, a man of purpose. You do not, of course, wash your hands. The concept of invisible germs is utterly unknown to you, a notion that would seem fantastical, even absurd, a tale for children. You are more concerned with the balance of visible humors, the tangible manifestations of illness, the fluids that govern life and death. You begin your diagnosis with practiced ease, a series of observations and simple tests, honed over years of practice. You take her wrist, feeling for the rhythm and strength of her pulse. A rapid, thready pulse indicates heat and weakness, a body struggling against an internal fire, its strength ebbing. You gently ask her to open her mouth. Her tongue is coated, perhaps yellowish or brownish, a sign of internal heat and putrefaction, a visual indicator of her humoral imbalance. You lean closer, inhaling carefully. Her breath is hot and heavy, perhaps with a faint, sickly sweet odor, another indicator of internal imbalance, of the body's struggle to expel the noxious humors. You note her shallow, rapid breathing, the flush on her cheeks, the general lethargy that has settled over her, the way her body seems to shrink into the straw, losing its vitality. Your conclusion, after this brief but intense examination, is swift and certain. Old Nan is suffering from an extreme imbalance of humors, specifically an excess of cold and wet phlegm, which has settled in her lungs, causing the wheezing and cough. This bad humor has become stagnant, thick and heavy, overwhelming the vital heat within her, leading to the fever as the body attempts to burn off the excess, a desperate, failing effort to restore balance. In modern terms, she has severe pneumonia, a life-threatening infection of the lungs. But to you, it is a clear case of bad humors, a battle within her very essence, a struggle between the elements. Her humors are deeply disturbed. You announce, your voice grave, resonating with authority despite the humble surroundings, a voice that commands attention. The phlegm has taken hold, cold and wet, overwhelming the vital heat. It has settled in her chest, suffocating her like a damp shroud. We must act to restore the balance, to expel this noxious humor before it consumes her entirely, before her vital spark is extinguished. The family nods, their faces etched with fear and hope, their eyes fixed on you, clinging to every word, every gesture, their last hope. They are powerless, their only hope resting on your ancient wisdom, your ability to interpret the signs and apply the remedies. Your prescribed treatment, though limited by your understanding and the meager resources of a peasant household, is what you believe to be the most effective course, a blend of traditional remedies and practical application, a desperate attempt to turn the tide. We must draw out some of the stagnant humors, you declare, taking out your tiny, sharp silver knife, its blade gleaming dully in the dim light, a tool of both healing and pain. With practiced care, you select a prominent vein in her arm, perhaps the basilica vein, and make a small, precise incision. You allow a few ounces of dark, thick blood to drip slowly and steadily into a crude wooden bowl brought by the family. The belief is that this will reduce the volume of the bad blood, which is thought to be carrying the illness, and thereby alleviate the pressure on her system, allowing the remaining humors to rebalance, to flow freely once more. Old Nan groans faintly, a soft, pained sound, barely audible, but her family holds her steady, their hands gentle but firm, supporting her through the ordeal. Next, you instruct the family to prepare a poultice, a warming, drawing remedy, to be applied directly to her chest. Mash fresh garlic, You command, and crush dried sage leaves. Mix them with a little warm water to form a paste, thick enough to hold its shape, like a rough salve. Once prepared, its pungent aroma filling the small cottage, a sharp, earthy scent, you carefully apply this strong-smelling, warm poultice to her chest. Garlic is known for its warming and expelling properties, believed to draw out toxins and phlegm, while sage is believed to cleanse and dry, aiming to counteract the cold and wet phlegm that grips her lungs to bring forth the heat. For internal cleansing, you instruct them on a simple herbal infusion, a gentle internal purge. Boil some nettles, you instruct, and have her drink the infusion, a small cup every hour. It will warm her from within and encourage the expulsion of humors through sweat and urine, a natural cleansing. Nettle tea is a common remedy, believed to purify the blood and act as a diuretic, aiding the body's efforts to purge itself of impurities. Someone from the family, perhaps old Nan's daughter, her voice a hesitant whisper, suggests, "Should we not pray, doctor, for God's mercy?" You nod wisely. Indeed, prayer is always a powerful balm for the soul and can aid in the body's recovery. Let us pray for divine intervention, for God's grace to touch her and restore her health, for the heavens often hold the ultimate cure. You might even offer a short, solemn prayer yourself, your voice low and reverent, reinforcing the blend of medicine and faith that permeates all aspects of life in this age, a comfort to the desperate. The family watches your every move with a mixture of awe and desperation, their faces reflecting every flicker of hope and fear, their eyes wide with anticipation. They cling to every word, every action, hoping against hope that you, the learned physician, can turn the tide against the relentless illness that grips their beloved Nan, that you can snatch her back from the brink. Having done all you can with the tools and knowledge at your disposal, with the limited means available, you prepare to leave. The family, with deep gratitude etched on their faces, offers you your payment. A small basket containing a few freshly laid eggs, still warm from the hen, and a humble loaf of coarse, dark bread, baked with their own hands, a precious offering. You accept them with a solemn nod, your face betraying no emotion, though your heart is heavy with the knowledge of her precarious state. You know, deep down, that old Nan's chances are slim. The illness is severe, her body frail, and your remedies, while based on the best available knowledge, are often inadequate against the relentless march of disease. You offer a few final words of instruction to the family. Keep her warm, ensure she drinks the nettle infusion, watch for any change, for any sign of improvement or decline, and then, with a heavy heart, you ride away, the image of old Nan's struggling breath lingering in your mind, a haunting echo. The sun climbs higher, and the day, full of both hope and despair, continues its slow, inexorable march. As the day progresses, and your stomach rumbles faintly, a subtle reminder of your own mortality and need for sustenance, you decide to take a moment to inspect your medical bag, your trusty companion on this arduous journey through medieval ailments. It is not a sleek, modern kit filled with sterile instruments and advanced diagnostics, gleaming chrome and precise mechanisms. No, your bag is a testament to the brutal realities of medieval medicine. A collection of crude, yet essential, tools designed for a world where suffering was commonplace and pain was an unavoidable part of healing, where the best you could offer was often a chance, however slim, at survival, a desperate gamble against overwhelming odds. You open the worn leather flap, the supple hide creaking softly, a familiar sound, and the smell of dried herbs, stale blood, and a faint metallic tang wafts out, a familiar, almost comforting aroma of your profession, a scent that speaks of life and death. Inside, nestled amongst rolls of coarse linen bandages, small pouches of various powders, and a few glass vials, their contents a mystery to the uninitiated, are the instruments that define your practice. Each one tells a story of desperate measures, of courage, of agonizing pain, and of the profound limitations of your era, a grim narrative of human suffering. Let's take a peek into your medical bag, your personal toolbox of terror. It contains a bone saw, perhaps the most fearsome instrument in your collection. It is not a delicate, surgical saw, but a robust, handheld tool, resembling something a carpenter might use, its wooden handle worn smooth from countless uses, its metal blackened with age and use. Its teeth are large and widely spaced, designed for efficiency, not precision, meant to cut through tough bone quickly, with minimal effort. It is used for amputations, a procedure of last resort when a limb is gangrenous, its flesh black and rotting, crushed beyond repair, or consumed by an unstoppable disease, its only hope of survival lying in the removal of the afflicted part. The thought of its use sends a shiver down your spine, even though you are the one wielding it, for you have witnessed the agony it inflicts, the raw, visceral pain. The sound it makes, the grating of bone against metal, the sharp, tearing sound of tissue, is a sound that haunts the nightmares of both patient and physician, a chilling symphony of desperation. You also carry a bleeding bowl, or perhaps a cupping set. This is your most frequently used instrument, a testament to the pervasive belief in humoral theory, the idea that all illness stems from an imbalance of the body's four vital fluids. The bleeding bowl is a simple, shallow metal or ceramic dish designed to collect the blood during a bloodletting procedure, its surface often stained with dried remnants of past interventions, a grim trophy. Alongside it, you might carry a set of cupping glasses, small, bell-shaped cups made of glass or horn that, when heated and applied to the skin, create a vacuum, drawing blood to the surface or, if the skin is scarified with a small lancet, drawing it out in a controlled flow. The belief is that by removing bad blood or excess humors, the body's balance can be restored, fever reduced, and inflammation quelled, a necessary purging to restore harmony. It is a cornerstone of medieval therapy, used for almost every ailment from persistent fever to deep melancholy, from swollen joints to persistent headaches, a universal remedy. In a small, damp wooden box or a sturdy glass jar filled with water, you keep your loyal companions, the medicinal leeches. These slimy, segmented worms are the medieval doctor's best friend, a living, squirming testament to humoral theory, always ready for their task, their bodies undulating gently. You select them carefully, often the Hirudo medicinalis species, known for its efficient blood-sucking abilities and its relatively painless bite, its tiny jaws precise. You apply them to the patient's skin, often near the site of pain or inflammation, or to specific points believed to correspond to certain humors or organs, a targeted therapy. They attach themselves with their suckers, their three jaws making a Y-shaped incision, and slowly engorge themselves with blood, swelling visibly before dropping off when full, their bodies plump and dark. They are believed to draw off stagnant blood, reduce swelling, alleviate pain, and rebalance the humors, a tiny, living purge, a natural bloodletter. Their gentle, rhythmic pulsing as they feed is a strangely hypnotic sight, a quiet dance of ancient healing, a testament to nature's remedies. Your bag is also filled with small, carefully labeled pouches of dried herbs, roots, and powders. This is your pharmacy, your source of internal remedies, each carefully gathered, dried, and prepared according to ancient recipes, passed down through generations. You have opium, derived from the poppy, a precious and potent substance, used sparingly for severe pain. Though its addictive properties are not fully understood, only its power to induce a deep, heavy sleep, a welcome respite from agony. Mandrake, its root often resembling a human figure, is steeped in folklore and believed to have narcotic properties, used as a sedative or crude anesthetic, though its dosage is precarious and often deadly, a fine line between sleep and eternal rest, a dangerous but sometimes necessary gamble. Foxglove digitalis is used cautiously for heart ailments, though its precise mechanism is unknown, and its toxicity is a constant danger, a powerful remedy that can also kill, requiring careful dosage. Chamomile is for calming nerves and aiding sleep, its gentle aroma a soothing presence, a mild comfort. Valerian is another sedative, used for anxiety and insomnia, its earthy scent a promise of rest, a natural tranquilizer. Nettles are for purification and warming, believed to cleanse the blood and expel impurities. Garlic and sage are for poultices, believed to draw out infection and warm the body. Their pungent aromas a sign of their potency, a strong, earthy medicine. You also carry strong purgatives and emetics, herbs like hellebore or senna, designed to induce violent vomiting or diarrhea, believed to expel noxious humors from the body, a harsh but necessary cleansing. The patient suffering during this process is seen as a necessary part of the cure, a purging of the internal corruption, a painful but believed to be effective path to recovery. Another truly terrifying tool is a heated iron for cauterization. This is a metal rod with a shaped tip, often kept in a small, insulated container to retain its heat, ready for immediate use. When heated in a fire until glowing red, its tip shimmering with intense heat, it is used for cauterization, the burning of tissue. This is done for several reasons: to stop severe bleeding from a wound or an amputation, sealing the blood vessels with searing heat, to destroy diseased tissue that cannot be cut away, burning away the corruption, or to apply a counter-irritant to draw bad humors to the surface, creating a painful but believed to be effective diversion, a counter-irritant to draw out the illness. The smell of burning flesh, the sizzle of tissue as it cooks, and the agonizing screams of the patient are unforgettable, a sensory assault that lingers long after the procedure, a haunting memory. It is a brutal but often necessary procedure in a world without modern antiseptics, a desperate measure to prevent fatal bleeding or widespread infection, a last resort against overwhelming odds. Finally, perhaps the most audacious instrument in your collection is a trephine or trepan. This is a small, hand-cranked drill with a circular saw blade, its teeth sharp and menacing, designed to cut through bone. It is used for trepanation, the ancient practice of drilling a hole in the skull. The reasons for this procedure are varied: to relieve pressure from a head injury, to treat epilepsy, migraines, or mental illness, particularly those believed to be caused by evil spirits or internal pressures on the brain. The belief is that by creating an opening, bad spirits, evil humors, or excess pressure can be released from the brain, allowing the patient relief, a literal opening to the mind. The procedure is performed without anesthesia, the patient conscious and often restrained, their eyes wide with terror, their body struggling against the bonds, the sound of the drill grinding through bone a chilling accompaniment to their cries, a sound that echoes in the quiet room. Survival rates are, predictably, very low, but those who do survive are often seen as miraculous cures, living testaments to the physician's daring and the patient's resilience. This is a critical point. You have no anesthesia. None. The patient's pain is an unavoidable reality, a raw, screaming truth that you must witness and inflict. For surgery, they might be given a strong dose of opium or mandrake, but these are crude sedatives. often leading to unconsciousness or death rather than true pain relief, a gamble with life itself. More often, the patient is simply held down by strong assistants, their body straining, given a stick or a leather strap to bite on, and told to endure, to be brave, to bear the unbearable. Their screams are the soundtrack to your work, a constant reminder of the suffering you are attempting to alleviate, a haunting chorus. Major surgery is a last resort, undertaken only when death is otherwise certain, a desperate gamble against overwhelming odds, a final, desperate attempt to save a life. The risk of infection is astronomical, as you operate with unsterilized tools, often in unhygienic environments, with little understanding of how disease spreads, how invisible enemies lurk everywhere. A simple cut can fester, turning into a raging infection, leading to gangrene and a slow, agonizing death, a common tragedy. Toothaches are a common complaint, a constant source of misery for the common folk. Their faces swollen and their sleep disturbed, and your solution is simple and brutal. Apply a pair of crude forceps or pliers and yank the offending tooth out. No numbing, no gentle persuasion, just brute force. The patient's jaw might dislocate, or the tooth might shatter, but the pain, at least, will be gone, replaced by a different kind of agony. For a deep wound, you might pour wine over it, the alcohol acting as a rudimentary antiseptic, though you don't understand why it helps, only that it seems to cleanse. You then pack it with honey-soaked bandages, honey being known for its natural antibacterial properties, and wrap it tightly with linen. Then you hope. Hope it doesn't smell funny tomorrow. Hope it doesn't turn black. Hope the patient doesn't develop a raging fever and succumb to the unseen enemy. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst, for death is always a close companion, a constant presence in your work. This is your toolbox, doctor. A collection of grim necessities, each one a reminder of the raw, unvarnished struggle against disease in a world without modern understanding. As you close the flap of your bag, the worn leather soft beneath your fingers, a quiet sense of dread, mingled with a grim determination, settles over you. The day is far from over. The afternoon sun casts long shadows across the cobbled streets of the town, stretching like weary fingers. Your morning rounds have left you weary, the emotional weight of old Nan's suffering still pressing on your mind, a dull ache in your chest, but the day's work is far from done. As you make your way through the bustling marketplace, the air is thick with the cacophony of vendors hawking their wares, the cries of fishmongers, the shouts of merchants, the bleating of sheep, and the ceaseless chatter of townsfolk going about their daily lives, a vibrant tapestry of sound. The smells of baking bread, fresh produce, and unwashed bodies mingle in the air, a vibrant, if sometimes overwhelming, tapestry of medieval life, a sensory overload. And then, cutting through the general din, you hear it, a sharp, guttural scream, quickly followed by a collective gasp from a gathering crowd. This is the unmistakable sound of the barber surgeon at work, a familiar, unsettling melody in the rhythm of the town, a sound that always draws a crowd. At midday, you decide to stop in the town square, drawn by the commotion and a professional curiosity that overrides your weariness, a need to observe and perhaps learn, even from those considered beneath you. The barber surgeon's booth is usually identifiable by its distinctive pole, painted with red and white stripes, representing blood and bandages, a stark and honest advertisement of his services, clearly visible from a distance. Today, a small but eager crowd has gathered, drawn by the spectacle of human suffering, a grim form of entertainment in an age without theaters or public executions as common as this. Children peer from behind their parents' legs, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination, unable to tear themselves away from the gruesome scene. The barber surgeon himself is a burly man, his sleeves rolled up to reveal muscular forearms, scarred and calloused from years of physical labor, his hands strong and steady. His apron, once white, is now stained with various bodily fluids, a testament to his busy morning and the messy nature of his craft, a grim badge of honor. He is not a university-trained physician like yourself. He is a man of practical skills, a craftsman of the body, his knowledge gained through direct, often painful, experience, learning from every cut and every scream. He cuts hair, shaves beards, and performs all manner of minor, and sometimes major, surgical procedures. He is not trained in the ancient texts or the humoral theories, but he has very sharp tools, and a brutal efficiency born of necessity, a speed that minimizes, if only slightly, the patient's agony, for a quick cut is better than a lingering one. Today, the reason for the screams is evident. He's sawing off a gangrenous toe. The patient, a young man, perhaps a farmer or a laborer, lies on a crude wooden bench, his face contorted in agony, sweat beading on his brow, his body trembling. His leg, wrapped in a blood-soaked cloth, is held steady by two strong assistants, their muscles straining with the effort, their faces grim. The barber surgeon, with a grim determination etched on his face, his jaw set, applies his bone saw to the blackened, rotting flesh. The sound of the saw grating against bone is sickening, a high-pitched whine that cuts through the market noise, making some in the crowd wince, their hands flying to their mouths. There is no anesthesia. The young man bites down hard on a wooden stick, clenching his jaw so tightly that the muscles in his neck stand out, his teeth grinding. His eyes are squeezed shut, tears streaming down his face, silent testament to the excruciating pain, a raw, primal suffering. His body trembles violently, a full-body tremor, as if convulsing, but he makes no sound beyond the initial, raw scream, having bitten back his cries, a testament to his endurance. The crowd watches, a mixture of morbid fascination and grim sympathy on their faces, some murmuring prayers, others simply staring. Some cheer, urging the barber surgeon on, perhaps believing the pain is a necessary part of the cure, a purging of the bad humors, a test of spirit. One woman, her face pale, her hand clamped over her mouth, faints and is quickly helped away by a neighbor, collapsing gently to the ground, unable to bear the sight. You watch dispassionately, a professional observer, your expression unreadable, your mind analyzing the technique, the efficiency. You nod. It went well. Only moderate screaming. The toe, a blackened, shriveled thing, is quickly severed and tossed into a bucket of sawdust, a dull thud, a piece of flesh discarded. The barber surgeon then takes a heated iron, glowing red from a nearby brazier, its heat radiating visibly, and applies it to the stump, cauterizing the wound to stop the bleeding, the flesh sizzling. The sizzle of burning flesh, the acrid smell of cooked meat, fills the air, mingling with the market aromas, a gruesome addition to the everyday sense. The patient lets out another muffled cry, a sound of raw agony, but the bleeding stops. The stump is then quickly wrapped in linen bandages, soaked in wine or a herbal concoction, a crude but effective dressing, a barrier against infection. The young man, pale and shaking, is helped away, his face still contorted, his life saved, but forever altered, a new limp in his gait, a permanent reminder of his ordeal. This brutal spectacle is a common sight in the town square. The barber surgeon's services are always in demand, a constant stream of ailments passing through his hands, a never-ending parade of suffering. He handles tooth pulling, with a constant stream of villagers coming to him with aching teeth, their faces swollen and their eyes bloodshot, desperate for relief. With a pair of formidable pliers or forceps, He yanks out rotten molars, often with a loud crack and a gush of blood. The patients scream a brief, sharp punctuation. No numbing, no gentle extraction, just brute force. It's a quick, painful solution to agonizing dental pain, a necessary evil in a world without dentists. He also expertly uses a sharp blade to cut open festering boils and abscesses, releasing pus and blood. The relief for the patient often immediate, but the risk of infection remains high, a constant threat. Though crude, he has a knack for setting simple fractures, splinting them with wood and linen, hoping they will knit correctly, often relying on the body's own healing power and a bit of luck. And, of course, between these more dramatic procedures, he also performs his namesake duties, cutting hair and shaving beards, often with the same unwashed hands and tools, a chilling thought in retrospect, a grim irony. You nod again, a silent acknowledgement of his grim effectiveness, his indispensable role in this harsh world. He is a necessary part of the medical landscape, dealing with the raw, physical ailments that fall outside the physician's domain of humors and astrological charts, the immediate, tangible problems. His methods are crude, his shop unhygienic, his tools unsterilized, but he provides a vital service to the common folk who cannot afford your learned consultations, who need immediate, if brutal, intervention. As you walk away, the lingering smell of blood and burning flesh clings to your nostrils, a constant reminder of the harsh realities of healing in this age, a scent that will follow you into the night, a part of your daily life. The sun continues its slow descent, and the day, full of both the mundane and the horrific, marches on. The afternoon wears on, and a new, chilling murmur begins to ripple through the town. It starts as whispers, carried on the wind like dry leaves, rustling through the narrow streets, then grows into fearful pronouncements, louder, more insistent, until it becomes an undeniable roar of terror, a collective cry of dread. Messengers from neighboring villages arrive, their faces ashen, their eyes wide with unspeakable horror, bringing news that turns the blood cold in your veins. The Black Death has arrived, a silent, unseen enemy, more terrifying than any army. You hear the rumors. A sudden, inexplicable sickness, people dying within days, sometimes within hours, their bodies covered in black swellings, the dreaded buboes, appearing in the armpits, groin, and neck, growing to the size of apples or even eggs, oozing pus and blood. A profound dread settles in your stomach, colder than any phlegm, a chilling premonition of the devastation to come, a sense of impending doom. You have read the ancient texts, of course, of the great plagues that swept through lands, decimating populations, wiping out entire cities, but to face it yourself, to witness its relentless, horrifying march, it is a different terror entirely. A visceral fear that chills you to the bone, a fear that transcends all your learned knowledge. Your first instinct is to consult your books, to search for ancient remedies, for wisdom that can combat this unseen enemy, this scourge that defies all known understanding. You pore over Galen, Avicenna, and Hippocrates, frantically searching for answers, for a cure, for any glimmer of hope, your fingers tracing the ancient script. But the texts offer little comfort, only descriptions of symptoms that match the horror unfolding outside your window, and vague, desperate treatments that seem utterly inadequate, mere superstitions against a force of nature. The humoral theory, so precise for common ailments, for fevers and digestive complaints, seems utterly useless, a mere whisper against this overwhelming, terrifying force, a child's toy against a raging storm. You remember the descriptions of plague doctors from distant lands, men who donned strange, bird-like masks to protect themselves from the miasma, the corrupted air. With a grim resolve, a desperate attempt at self-preservation and duty, you assemble your own protective outfit. If you are lucky enough to have the materials and the foresight, for such garments are rare and expensive. You fashion a mask, crudely shaped like a bird's beak, its long snout a grotesque extension of your face, and you fill its interior with aromatic herbs, lavender, mint, rosemary, cloves, and perhaps a few drops of strong vinegar, hoping their pungent fumes will purify the air you breathe. You believe these fragrant herbs will filter out the miasma, the foul, corrupted air that you believe carries the disease, purifying the very breath you take, a fragile shield against the unseen. You don a long, heavy coat, perhaps made of waxed canvas or leather, its surface slick and dark, and thick gloves, believing these will protect your skin from the noxious vapors and the invisible taint of the plague, a physical barrier against the insidious enemy. You carry a long stick, not just for support, but to examine patients without touching them, to push away the desperate, the dying, to maintain a physical barrier between yourself and the relentless contagion, a desperate attempt to keep the horror at bay. You venture into the streets, now strangely quiet, the usual market bustle replaced by an eerie stillness, save for the incessant, mournful tolling of church bells, announcing yet another death, and the distant, heart-wrenching cries of the bereaved, their wails echoing through the empty lanes. The air, once vibrant with life, now feels heavy, thick with an unseen menace, a palpable sense of dread that presses down on you, suffocating and cold. You see the first victims, their faces contorted in pain and fear. A merchant, his skin already darkening, his neck swollen with a black, pulsating bubo, a grotesque badge of death. A child, feverish and delirious, her small body racked with convulsions, her parents weeping helplessly beside her, their grief raw and open. Your prescribed treatments, born of desperation and the prevailing beliefs of your age, are tragically futile, mere gestures against an unstoppable tide, like trying to hold back the ocean with a sieve. You instruct the townspeople to burn aromatic herbs like rosemary, frankincense, and myrrh in their homes and in the streets, hoping the purifying smoke will cleanse the air, a desperate attempt to clear the miasma. The acrid smell of sulfur, believed to drive away evil spirits and purify the atmosphere, hangs heavy in the air, mingling with the stench of sickness and death, a noxious blend. You hope these strong scents will drive away the bad air, or the demonic influences you believe are causing the plague, a desperate prayer in the face of the unknown, a last, futile hope. You witness groups of penitents, flagellants, their faces grim and determined, marching through the streets, whipping themselves raw, their backs a bloody mess, believing that by punishing their own bodies, they can atone for the sins of humanity and appease God, thereby ending the plague, a horrifying act of faith. You offer no medical opinion on this, for it is a spiritual matter, beyond your earthly remedies, but you know it does nothing to stem the tide of death, only adds to the suffering. The churches are filled with desperate souls, huddled together, praying ceaselessly, begging for divine intervention, for a miracle that never comes, their voices hoarse with supplication. Relics are paraded through the streets, believed to possess miraculous healing powers, touched by countless hands, unknowingly spreading the very disease they are meant to cure, a tragic irony. You, too, offer prayers, for what else can you do? Your medical knowledge is useless, your tools impotent, your spirit broken. You continue to bleed the sick, believing that the plague is caused by a corruption of the blood, an excess of hot, putrid humors that must be purged. You make incisions, hoping to draw out the poison, but the patients only weaken further, their already fragile bodies unable to withstand the loss of blood, hastening their demise, a cruel irony. You apply warm compresses to the buboes, hoping to draw out the disease, to bring the infection to the surface. You try poultices of figs, onions, and yeast, their sticky warmth a futile comfort, believing they will bring the infection to a head, but the swellings only grow larger, more painful, and eventually burst, releasing a foul-smelling pus that spreads further contagion, a horrifying cycle. You advise people to wash themselves and their homes with vinegar and rosewater, believing these will cleanse the air and surfaces of the miasma, a desperate attempt at hygiene in a world that understands nothing of true cleanliness, a futile gesture. Nothing works. The plague spreads with terrifying speed, a relentless, invisible predator, consuming everything in its path. Bodies pile up in the streets, too numerous for proper burial, left where they fall, or hastily thrown into mass graves, shallow pits that offer little dignity. The gravediggers, themselves succumbing to the disease, cannot keep up, their shovels lying abandoned, their lives claimed. The air becomes thick with the stench of death and decay, a cloying, sweet, sickly odor that permeates everything, a constant reminder of the pervasive horror. Fear grips the town, turning neighbor against neighbor, parent against child, as suspicion and paranoia take root, eroding all bonds. The healthy flee, abandoning the sick to their fate, leaving behind a ghost town haunted by the dying, a landscape of despair. You, the physician, are more likely to die than help anyone. You move from house to house, your heart heavy with despair, your spirit burdened by the sheer scale of the suffering, a lone figure in a world consumed by death, a witness to unspeakable tragedy. You witness unspeakable horrors. Entire families wiped out in a single night, their bodies lying cold in their beds, untouched, children orphaned, their cries echoing in empty homes, a haunting sound. The living too terrified to touch the dead, leaving them to rot, a breakdown of all humanity. Your medical knowledge, once a source of pride, now feels utterly useless, a mere whisper against the roar of the plague, a futile gesture in the face of annihilation. People begin to look at you with suspicion, then with outright hostility. You are the one who comes to the sick, the one who touches the dying. You are seen as a carrier of the disease, or worse, as one cursed, unable to stem the tide of death, a harbinger of doom, a bringer of ill fortune. You are not paid, for wealth means nothing in the face of death, gold useless against the plague. Your services are no longer desired, only feared. You are chased with a pitchfork by a desperate, grief-stricken farmer who blames you for his wife's demise, his eyes wild with a pain that eclipses reason, his grief turned to rage. You run, your heavy robes flapping around you, the desperate cries of the dying echoing in your ears, the sound of your own frantic breathing loud in your ears, a desperate flight. The sun, once a source of warmth and life, now seems to mock you, illuminating the endless suffering, casting long, grim shadows across the ravaged land. The day, now shrouded in the shadow of death, feels unending, a nightmare from which there is no waking, only deeper descent. The sun finally begins its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a stark and beautiful contrast to the grim reality on the ground, a fleeting moment of beauty in a world of despair. The last rays of light cast long, weary shadows as you return home, exhausted, your body aching, every muscle protesting the day's relentless demands, a profound weariness settling deep within your bones. Your spirit is heavy with the day's horrors, the images of suffering burned into your mind, a permanent scar. The bird beak mask, once a symbol of your professional duty, now feels like a grotesque burden, a futile attempt at protection, its purpose rendered meaningless by the plague's advance. You pull it off, the leather stiff and uncomfortable against your face, and the scent of stale herbs and the lingering odor of death cling to it, a phantom presence that follows you, a constant reminder. Your modest stone house, usually a sanctuary, a quiet refuge from the world, feels cold and empty, devoid of warmth or comfort. The silence within is unsettling after the screams, the wails, and the desperate prayers of the day, a stark and eerie quiet that amplifies your own thoughts. You are tired and bloodstained, not from a glorious battle won, but from a futile struggle against an invisible, relentless enemy that claims lives indiscriminately, leaving only devastation in its wake. You eat stale bread, gnawing on it slowly, without appetite, the dry crumbs catching in your throat, tasting like ash. You drink weak ale, its bitterness matching the taste in your mouth, a flavor of defeat and exhaustion, a poor substitute for comfort. Your mind, however, is not on the food or drink, nor on the simple comforts of your home. It is relentlessly replaying the day's events. Sir Geoffrey's anxious face and his foolish belief in cosmic influence, old Nan's ragged breathing and the desperate hope in her family's eyes, the barber surgeon's crude efficiency and the patient's agonizing screams, and, most vividly, the terrifying, overwhelming presence of the plague, a darkness that has consumed your town, leaving only desolation. You think about Galen, the great physician whose wisdom has guided your entire career, whose teachings you have memorized and revered, his words once a source of unwavering truth. You recall his intricate theories of humors, his detailed anatomical descriptions, his precise methods of diagnosis, all the knowledge you painstakingly acquired, the foundation of your profession. You think about the moon, the planets, the astrological charts you so diligently consult, believing they hold the key to understanding the body's delicate balance, the grand cosmic order that governs all life. You think about how none of it helped against the plague. None of it. The grand theories, the ancient wisdom, the careful observations, they all crumbled before the sheer, brutal force of the pestilence, leaving you helpless and exposed, your knowledge rendered meaningless. A profound sense of helplessness washes over you, deeper and colder than any chill, a despair that seeps into your very bones. You are a doctor, a man of learning, sworn to heal, yet you feel utterly powerless, a mere bystander to the relentless march of death, unable to intervene, unable to save. The faces of the dying, the despair of their families, the overwhelming stench of sickness and death, it all presses down on you, a crushing weight that threatens to suffocate your spirit, to extinguish your own will to live. But still, you are a doctor. You did your best, with the knowledge and tools available to you, however limited they may be, however futile your efforts. You applied the remedies, offered the counsel, and performed the rituals that your age believed were effective, even if their true efficacy was negligible, a desperate act of faith. You stood by your patients, even when others fled, even when fear gnawed at your own heart, a constant companion. There is a quiet, grim pride in that, a small flicker of dignity, even amidst the despair and the overwhelming sense of failure, a testament to your unwavering duty. You sit by candlelight, the flickering flame casting dancing shadows on the rough stone walls, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, a silent, swirling dance. You pull out your parchment scrolls, your quill, and a fresh pot of ink, preparing for tomorrow's patients. The world does not stop for the plague, not entirely. Life and illness continue, a relentless cycle of suffering and small, desperate hopes. Tomorrow, you expect a merchant with kidney stones, a painful ailment you will attempt to alleviate with herbal diuretics and perhaps a warm bath, hoping to pass the stone, offering what little comfort you can. You also anticipate a baker with shingles, a fiery rash you will treat with cooling poultices and prayers, believing it to be an excess of hot, dry yellow bile, a painful manifestation of internal heat. And, most challenging, a monk from the nearby monastery, suffering from what he describes as demonic visions, a malady you will likely attribute to an imbalance of black bile, perhaps exacerbated by excessive fasting or spiritual torment, a soul out of alignment with the divine. Your treatment will involve calming herbs, dietary adjustments to cleanse his system, and perhaps a recommendation for more vigorous prayer or even an exorcism performed by a priest, for some ailments transcend the purely physical, requiring spiritual intervention. You meticulously record your thoughts, your proposed treatments, your observations, your hands steady despite your exhaustion, a small act of defiance against the chaos. The quill scratches softly on the parchment, the only sound in the quiet room, a small act of order in a chaotic world, a testament to your enduring commitment. The world outside is dark, silent, save for the distant howl of a dog or the rustle of leaves in the night wind, and the pervasive, chilling silence of a town gripped by fear, a silence that screams of death. Sleep well, doctor. You've earned it, this brief respite from the relentless march of medieval disease. Your body aches, your mind is weary, and your soul is burdened. But you will rise again, for your patients await, and your duty, however futile, calls, a silent, unyielding command. But you still wouldn't last a day. Not truly. Not in this world, with its invisible terrors, its brutal realities, and its overwhelming despair, a world that would break even the strongest spirit. And so, ends your first and final day as a medieval doctor. Let the images of the day slowly fade from your mind, like smoke dispersing into the vast, quiet night sky, becoming nothing more than wisps of memory. Feel the gentle pull of sleep, drawing you deeper into comfort, into the soft embrace of oblivion, a peaceful descent. Think of it. No sterile gloves to protect against unseen pathogens, no understanding of the invisible killers that lurked everywhere, in the air, on every surface. No life-saving vaccines to prevent the most devastating diseases, no shield against the pestilence that could sweep away entire families. No microscopes to reveal the tiny, hidden world of germs, no stethoscopes to listen to the delicate rhythms of the heart, no tools to truly understand the inner workings of the body, only ancient theories and crude observations. Just stars, their distant light offering dubious guidance, their influence believed to be profound, yet ultimately unhelpful against true illness, a cosmic riddle. Just bile, blood, phlegm, and melancholy, the four ancient humors, endlessly out of balance, their supposed remedies often causing more harm than good, a cycle of pain and futile hope. Just fervent prayer, a desperate plea to a distant God, a last resort when all earthly remedies failed, a cry in the darkness. And maybe, just maybe, some parsley tea, or a poultice of garlic, offering a faint, fleeting hope of relief, a small comfort in a world of immense suffering, a whisper of healing. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, be profoundly grateful. Grateful that you live in a time where the doctor isn't also your barber, wielding the same razor for your beard and your boils, where a visit to the healer doesn't involve public spectacle and agonizing pain. Grateful that a simple fever doesn't necessarily mean a death sentence, that a cut can be healed with a simple antiseptic, that pain can be eased with a pill. Grateful for the quiet certainty of modern medicine, for the knowledge that has accumulated, slowly and painstakingly, over centuries, building on the foundations of ancient wisdom, but moving far beyond its limitations, offering true healing. And if you ever feel overwhelmed by the small anxieties of your own modern life, the minor discomforts, the fleeting stresses, the everyday worries, just remember, at least no one is drilling a hole in your skull to cure a headache. At least your doctor washes their hands. At least a cough is just a cough, and not a sign of cosmic imbalance or divine punishment. Let the sounds of the medieval world recede. The distant cries, the creak of the bone saw, the mournful tolling of bells, the whispers of fear, the pervasive stench of illness. Let them all dissolve into the soft silence of your peaceful night. Feel the warmth of your bed, the softness of your pillow. Let your breathing deepen, slow and steady, carrying you further into slumber, into a dreamless, peaceful sleep. Good night. Sleep tight, and may your humors remain perfectly, beautifully, and blessedly in balance.